And to Hawaii's devastating wildfires, which have left at least 114 people dead. Thousands of buildings are burnt to the ground.
I tell you, it's going to be a long and costly recovery.
August 7th at 10:47 p.m., a day earlier, you hear a witness describe a flash that might be a tree falling on a power line.
It's windy, and then there's a flash, and I think that's when a tree's falling on a power line. The power goes out.
The power line just went down.
By the next morning, August 8th at 6:37 a.m. in Lahaina, Shane True uses a garden hose to battle a fire.
That's the power line that started from up the road there, and all of that is still burning.
Authorities declaring that brush fire under control around 9 a.m., but then lost control of the flames hours later when the winds caused a flare-up to spread. By 5 p.m., Lahaina's historic Front Street up in flames.
Todd Newman, who is a very near and dear friend of mine, probably one of my favorite people on this planet.
He is your favorite person.
He is my favorite person on this planet.
I'm going to say it.
His family was affected, and they lost everything.
Hey everybody, Todd Newman here. A quick word before we start the show. When we recorded this episode the other night, the fires had yet to hit Maui. I just wanted to say a quick word that I have friends and family that live in Maui. They lost everything. Their homes burnt to the ground. The fires happened so fast that they literally had no time to get anything or save anything. They ran with the clothes they had on their back, and, not being dramatic, they narrowly escaped with their lives, many of them. These people are very near and dear to me. My goddaughter lives there, and in the show description, there will be a couple of links to hit GoFundMes. If you could find your way to giving anything, every little bit counts. Those of you who know me know I don't like doing this kind of stuff, but these people lost everything. So please try and give something to help these people out. Other than that, enjoy the show, I guess. And thank you for the people who already have donated. You can go on my Instagram page at Todd Newman. The GoFundMe links are there. They'll be in the show description. And please, thank you.
That I did not know fire could move that fast, but they said the fire moved so fast that it was faster than a freight train that you literally could not drive faster than the flames were moving. Like even if people were trying to their car trying to get out, they could not move faster than what this fire was moving. So it's devastating over there. So yes, please put a link.
Yeah. So any little bit helps. If you can donate, I will put the link.
Eerily haunting true stories about remote abandoned locations rich in history. Come with us in our travels from state to state, if you dare.
Be the last time anybody sees us alive. I don't know where she has us, but we're gonna get something killed. Hello? Gina, there is a beehive over there. Do you see that in the hole? Buckle up, Buttercup.
Welcome to 50 States of Madness.
Welcome to 50 States of Madness.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good. I'm Shannon.
I'm Gina.
In case you guys haven't met us before.
Figured it out yet.
Yeah. Based on our last episodes, please catch up.
Yeah. My apologies for the way that I look today. I feel so disheveled.
Oh, you?
Yeah. I survived my first week back to school.
Oh, I know. It's so tough.
And I feel like so out of sorts right now.
Yeah. And plus, because we recorded on an off day the week before, I feel like we haven't met each other. Like we haven't met
with each other in over almost 2 weeks.
Almost 2 weeks. That's unusual. Trust me.
Yeah.
That's very unusual.
I've had all kinds of stuff going on. So normally it's not my life isn't usually this hectic, and it's very hectic. I have a lot of stuff going on.
I think it's going on, especially this week because school started for you.
Yeah, but I have all this stuff going on with my uncle, and so everything's just kind of been like, a little crazy.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Anyway, how are you?
You know what? I'm hanging in there. I mean, unfortunately, I had to put my dog down. So.
Yeah, like an hour ago.
I know. So Carlos.
Yeah, rest in peace to Carlos. We'll put a picture up here of Carlos.
Yeah, put a picture of him. He was an old guy.
The cutest thing ever.
Yeah, and he was old, so it's more like it was a mercy. Like,
oh yeah, he lived a long, amazing, wonderful life. So a little funny story about Carlos. Shannan went out of town. I don't know where you were because I
watched
dog sat for him, whatever, but I couldn't find him.
Oh, that's right.
And I was like, oh my God, I can't find him. Like, what do I do? Like, I've never lost someone's dog before.
And where could he have gone?
Where could he have gone?
He's a little chewiener.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah.
But he's not that little.
No.
16-pound chewiener.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, great. What do I do? Like, how am I supposed to make this phone call? Like, well, your dog's gone. So apparently Shannan forgot to tell me that Carlos likes to sleep in the closet, like cupboards. Not the closet, the cupboards.
Yeah.
And so she made a bed for him in the hall cupboard, and that's where Carlos was the whole time.
We put all his blanket in there because he liked to go in the cupboard. Yeah, he's funny. He likes to be in houses, cupboard, like his own little space. So we put these blankets in there, and he would sleep in the cupboards.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So yeah, I thought I lost little Carlos, and
but it's been about a few weeks. A couple weeks ago, I had an appointment for his quality of life appointment because he wasn't walking. He was dragging his back legs. He didn't seem like himself. But he had like a little, I think I told the story last week. He had the little nails. So I cut his toenails and he seemed like he was okay.
Yeah.
But I think that was just because then he started again. He's not eating regularly, and he has some kind of, I don't know, something hormone, like he had some type of cancer. 2 years ago, they told me he only had 6 months to live. So Carlos has lived 2 years since they told me he only had 6 months to live at the most.
Oh yeah.
So we've been kind of like preparing for it,
of course.
But it's been 2 years and he was doing good, but we kind of saw the decline and stuff. And so, today I took him in and it was just, so, but he's happy now.
I wanted to go lay with him while he went to sleep.
You're good at that. I can't watch that.
I just think, like, especially when they're old like that, like, there's so many dogs out there that don't get to live long lives with families that care about them. And, there's so many dogs that just roam the street. And so I'm like, he lived a good life.
He did.
Yeah.
I got to say goodbye and I held him and stuff, but he was wondering why I wasn't taking him with him. Like, and that was my worries when I went there and they asked me, like, do you want to say goodbye to him? And I was walking in and I turned to the receptionist. I said, he's going to think I'm coming to pick him up, though. Like, because he's used to that routine, going to the vet and then me coming to pick him up. And he's a smart dog.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he's going to think I'm taking him home. And I almost didn't go say goodbye. I almost just turned around because I'm like, this way he's there. And he just think, oh, I'm going through a procedure or whatever.
Yeah.
But I said, no, then, it was almost a selfish thing. Like, I have to see him one last time. So, but and then I kind of handed him back. And, but he was a little baby. Oh, well. But that was my day today. And so, but we are going to talk about a story that we started last week.
Yeah, well, we started it last week about Shannan Gilbert. And I kind of wanted to start with her because she's kind of the reason that these 4 girls were found,
Yeah, at Gilgo Beach, right? Am I saying that right?
Gilgo Beach.
Okay.
So, like, I don't know. In a weird way, she's kind of like their angel. I don't know.
Yeah. She led the police to the other 4.
Yeah. And so if it wasn't for them looking for her, not just these 4, but there's I think 10 or 11 bodies that were found. So
insane.
That are still being identified. today, like
That
just a
is
couple days
crazy.
ago, one more was identified. So,
and it's a story in the news because they have somebody connected to killing the 4 girls.
yes,
An architect in New York.
yes,
Who was living a life as a successful architect,
Yep.
had a wife, had
kids,
yeah,
everything.
just
Yeah, they've known, I think, forever. And we talked a little bit like about the corruption in the police department and stuff like that. We're going to end up doing a whole episode on it because it's so in depth, like everything. And there's still more stuff coming out about that. I just sent Shannan something this morning about
it's like ongoing. But we just wanted to focus on the victims.
Just these 4 girls right now, because they are, so for a long time, or not for a long time, maybe still, I don't know. It was always up in the air if it was 2 different people that did this, if this was the same person, because these 4 girls were found in burlap sacks and bound. And then the other victims were found dismembered.
Oh, okay.
So
who are they connecting the architect to the ones who
these
are found
girls?
in burlap?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's what he's been charged with. I don't know if eventually, if that will come out that he's responsible for those 2.
For the other one.
But those, those go back to the late 90s because there were body parts found in the late 90s, like 96, I think.
Yeah. That they're connecting other body
parts
that they're just
that are on
finding
another
to
beach.
them. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Like the legs are over here,
Yeah.
the torso's over here.
That's insane.
So it's a whole different, profile, you would say, I guess. And so it appears that it would be somebody else.
Yeah.
So I don't know if eventually he will be held responsible and charged for all of them, or but these 4 were found very close to each other and kind of, they were evenly spread apart, laying next to each other. I think like 500 feet apart, but like the same.
It looks like it was the
bound.
same person.
Yeah, they were bound. They were in burlap sacks, and they all had like green or hazel colored eyes. They were all like 4'11", 5
They're
feet tall,
small.
very small,
Petite.
like 100 pounds or less. They all were like exactly the same.
Yeah.
So,
and then we just kind of want to, because I know the when they were being found in the media, it's like, oh, sex workers, prostitutes, these prostitutes. And we just kind of want to, give you their story because they were more than just what they're trying to describe them as.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did it for a reason. They were trying to support their family. They were, just trying to make money like everybody else. So.
And you wonder too, what was their life like, for them to go into it. But so I was going to start with Megan Waterman. So she's one of the young girls that was found. I know last week when we talked about some coincidences, like we have a Shannan Gilbert. My name's Shannan, even though she spells it differently. We had a Gus who was one of the witnesses, which is my husband's name. It's just funny how like you stumble across these. So
the dog's name was Blue.
The dog's name was Blue, and that's Gina's dog's name.
And then we had Joseph.
Joseph, yeah. And then the last name.
Oh, Coletti. Gus's last name was Coletti. That's my family's last name.
And so then Gina, just not even knowing the girls, she just said, hey, Shannan, can you research? One of them was Megan Waterman. So I did 2 of them. But the first one was Megan Waterman out of the 4. And she was born on January 18th. That's my brother's birthday. Yeah. My brother Joe's birthday. That was his birthday. So it's just all these little connections that make me a little bit closer to these victims and make me feel like, that I'm supposed to be where I'm at right now to report on what I'm reporting on or to talk about it.
Yeah, and I just feel like these girls deserve to be talked about. And they need to be the highlight of something more than just, obviously we're going to do stories on, this guy or whatever, but I feel like they deserve their own episode. They deserve to be talked about just as Shannan Gilbert did, and to focus on them and their life and what they did.
Yeah. So Megan Waterman was born on January 18th, 1988, to her 21-year-old mother, Lorraine. As an infant, she lived with her mother, her older brother, Greg Jr., her father, and her father, Greg's new girlfriend. Oh. So they weren't together by the time Megan was born.
Yeah.
But they all lived together at the Days Inn in Westbrook, Maine, just outside of Portland, where they rented by the week.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
they were living in a
hotel. In a motel hotel. Yeah.
Okay.
Lorraine already had a boy. She had Greg Jr., Megan's older brother, and he was and she was only 21 years old when she gave birth to Megan. She recalls her relationship with Megan's father as abusive. However, Greg says that the abuse went both ways and that Lorraine was a drinker. And she actually admitted to like drinking. I think there's some kind of morning drink she would have. They talked about it. I don't remember. Like a brandy and coffee, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the morning. So when Lorraine was 8 months pregnant with Megan, they broke up and Greg Sr. moved out. But not long after giving birth, he showed up with his new girlfriend, Karen. They offered to help Lorraine take care of Megan and Greg as long as she gave them a place to stay. So it's
so they're all bunking together?
They're all, well, I think, they did say that Greg, the father, and his new girlfriend slept on the floor, and Lorraine, along with the kids, slept in the room at the Days Inn. So I picture it like a residence inn or something, where it's got the living room and the bedroom. So, but she needed the help with the kids.
Yeah,
and
so I guess it worked out for both, right?
Yeah. So Lorraine's mother, Muriel, so that's Megan's grandmother. Began to hear stories that the kids weren't being well cared for. So Muriel called Child Protective Services, CPS, and Lorraine kept avoiding the social workers. So she would slip away on the days that the social workers were scheduled to come to see the living conditions of the kids, but she couldn't avoid them.
Yeah.
For the rest of her life.
Yeah, of course.
So around this time that she was dealing with CPS coming by and Muriel was trying to get, custody of the kids, she had to take Megan to the hospital for respiratory distress. And the medical team felt uncomfortable with the situation and alerted CPS, which immediately triggered them to remove the children from Lorraine and Greg Sr.'s care. So they had the report from Muriel. Now they have the report from the hospital. So they ended up taking the kids away.
Wait, was she like in respiratory distress because of abuse?
No, you know what? They never even really go into it. I don't know if it's because of a cold or if it's the living conditions. They lived in Maine, so I'm going to assume that it gets pretty cold up there.
Yeah.
So, and I do have to say, like, when Nathan was 5 weeks, my son, 5 weeks old, he had RSV and respiratory distress at that age.
Yeah.
So maybe it was just...
Yeah, maybe she was just
caught
sick.
a cold and she got sick. They were placed in emergency foster care, and Muriel applied for custody and won. Megan's mom, Lorraine, was a little bit wary of her mother trying to take custody because she was having kids that were going to be over the age of 18. So she was going to lose her state assistance. Oh. And so Lorraine thought that Muriel was just petitioning for the kids just so she could keep getting money.
For a paycheck.
So it was, so it was a little bit more in depth of a story. But Megan and her brother, who was only 1 year and 4 months older than Megan, lived with their maternal grandmother and her husband, Doug. When Megan was in the 5th grade, she was diagnosed with ADHD. And when she was in the 8th grade, the family moved from downtown Portland, Maine to Scarborough, Maine. By this time, her brother Greg was no longer living in the home, and Megan was in an alternative education program. Oh. Sounded something like special education. Yeah. They said the classrooms were in the basement of the school, and she was kind of a little bit separated.
Yeah.
So she started getting into some trouble as a teen. She got caught shoplifting and was sent to live in the Maine Youth Center.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And there's a cop that came in and out of her life that kind of befriended her, that tried to get her on the right path. But by 17 years old, Megan dropped out of high school and became pregnant by a man who was twice her age.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. In 2006, Megan gave birth to her daughter, Liliana. And they said that she was a great mom. She doted on Liliana. She loved being a mom. However, by 2008, Megan was drinking and doing drugs and was convinced to do sex work to make ends meet by a man named Robert Blake. So she came across this man. And I always... Didn't we talk about this in past episodes? Yeah. How when you Google one perpetrator, all of a sudden it seems like these names keep coming up. And if you guys don't know Robert Blake. Google Robert Blake.
Well, you can go back. We did an episode.
Yeah, we did do an episode on it. Yeah, I mean...
Bonnie Lee Bakley.
Yeah. He was accused of murdering her.
Yeah.
And a couple others.
Yeah, not just her.
Not just her. He was a famous, movie producer?
Yes.
In Hollywood. So, but this was not him. Okay. And so, Through Robert Blake, she met a guy named Akeem Cruz, and this was Robert's friend. She fell in love with him, and he convinced her to go to New York to make money as a prostitute.
Oh, wow.
Oh, this
was that her pimp
love.
or just?
I want to say yes, he was. I mean, even though he manipulated her and made her believe like, oh, we're together, we're in love.
He still got a cut of what she did.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's her pimp.
Yeah. For extra cash, Akeem would have her and a group of girls also smuggle cocaine back and forth to New York.
Okay.
By 2010, Akeem was arrested on drug trafficking charges. When Akeem was out on bail, he and Megan took a trip to New York City on June 1st, 2010. So Megan could work out of a Holiday Inn, and he stayed with family in Long Island. So he left her at a Holiday Inn to do sex work.
Yeah.
And took off to go stay with his family.
Well, yeah, because she's making him money. She's the pimp and the pusher, you know? He's both. Like, he's got money coming in no matter what.
And I mean, I feel my heart goes out to her because she's really going to believe that this man's going to take her away from the life that she's living right now.
Well, and I think, you know, we've seen it in so many other cases too. Like when you're a young parent and you need money and you don't have anything. And obviously, like by her upbringing, you know, her mom, she sounds like she was, you know, not the greatest. And so she didn't have the best upbringing.
No.
So you just, you know, get this attitude where I have to fend for myself. And she's just probably trying to, you know, put food on the table.
And at this point, she's going back and forth. So at this time, her daughter stays with her grandmother while she's traveling back and forth.
Thank
God.
God.
The family says that she does call her daughter about 3 times a day when she's away.
Okay.
So on Friday, June 4th, Megan had called her friend Nikki. I want to say Nikki, but it's spelled Nicci. Is it Nisi, maybe?
Probably Nikki. I don't know.
Or Nisi?
Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry, I don't know. But it's Nicci.
Yeah.
So I'll say Nikki for now, but I'll probably be corrected.
Yeah.
Nikki said that Megan was excited because Akeem wanted her to stop doing sex work so they can have a family together. He was telling her that he wanted to have a baby with her, and she was super excited. The next day, Megan talked to her mom, Lorraine, on the phone. At 8 p.m. that night, the security camera caught Akeem and Megan leaving the hotel together, and then Megan returned by 9:30 p.m. alone. At 9:50 p.m., Megan called her grandmother and talked to her daughter on the phone. At 12 midnight again, Megan called her grandmother and spoke to, and then she also called Akeem and spoke to him around 1 in the morning. Security cameras at the hotel caught Megan leaving the hotel alone at 1:30 a.m. and that was the last time anyone saw her.
Okay, I've seen that footage.
Yeah, and they don't, and they're speculating that Akeem did not even know that she was going to go out and see the second person, but it's not for sure.
Right.
But by 11 a.m. the next morning, Akeem called Muriel asking, and that's the grandmother, called Muriel asking if she had talked to her. It's not until June 17th that a small article is ran in the paper about Megan's disappearance. Megan's family got help from a nonprofit organization called Lost and Missing, and they sent press releases that ran news about a vigil that they would be holding. On Friday, June 25th, nearly 3 weeks after Megan disappeared, a vigil was held. The next morning, a team of volunteers distributed hundreds of flyers.
Wow.
So, June 4th, and he wants to file a missing persons, but they won't take it from him because he's not family.
The pimp?
Yeah. And we've heard this before.
Of course. I mean, that's his cash cow.
Yeah.
You know?
But
he's not gonna kill her.
No, not at all. And,
yeah.
You know what? They kind of said that, you know, he was considered a witness, but never really a suspect. You know?
Yeah.
He was the last person to see her.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything either if she was going on a second call that he didn't even know about.
Yeah. So on November 2010, Akeem was convicted on drug charges and sentenced to 20 months in prison. So this is from June to November. So what, about 6 months later, he's sentenced to prison. Just 1 month prior to Megan's disappearance, Shannan Gilbert went missing. But it's funny how they don't make the connections of the 4 with Shannan Gilbert.
Yeah.
You know, even though it's all in the same area. But on what would have been Megan's 23rd birthday, on January 18, 2011, after they started finding the bodies on Gigo Beach of the 4 girls, The New York City medical examiner told the police and investigators that Megan was one of the 4 victims found at Gilgo Beach.
So I'm going to talk about Melissa Barthelemy. Was born on April 14th, 1985 in Buffalo, New York. She was the eldest of 3 daughters. She was born to Mark and Lynn Barthelemy. She attended Kenmore West High School and graduated in 2003. It's like they're so young. Like, I think like 2003, like, oh man.
I know.
So sad. She was interested in cosmetology and fashion design and dreamed of becoming a hairstylist or model. She also loved animals and had a cat named Gizmo. She moved to New York City in 2000.
Say how cute.
What?
How cute. Gizmo? Yes.
I know.
Kitty cat.
I'm not a cat person, but
okay.
Have enough in my yard.
I just, kitty cat crazy. Okay, go ahead.
So she moved to New York in 2007 to pursue her career goals. She enrolled in Bronx Community College and took cosmetology courses. She also worked as a waitress at a pizzeria and a nightclub. She started working as an escort in 2008 to supplement her income and pay for her education. There you go, right there.
Yeah.
You know, she's working 2 jobs. This is her second job. She's trying to pay for school, pay for everything, and
still needing a third one.
Yeah, to make ends meet. Like it's yeah.
I mean, if we're not, New York is one of the most expensive places to live.
Yeah.
Even if you're in the Bronx. Like,
yeah.
I mean, no matter what part of New York you live in, it's
nothing cheap about it.
No.
Nothing cheap. So she charged $200 an hour and had a very loyal clientele. So I don't know. It's just a feeling I get. When they say you have a loyal clientele, that makes me think like, you know, the people, you know, your clients. It's not just a one and done situation.
No.
These people return.
The returning clients, yeah.
And so after a while, she probably feels a level of comfort with them. You know, after a while, you get used to them. I mean, I don't know.
You see them as your friend. You're doing one of the most intimate things with them. And then, you know,
so
for them to keep coming back. Yeah.
So I guess, I don't know. I just feel like for her to have loyal clients, I feel like a lot of, you know, she felt comfortable with some of these people and
maybe didn't need the security with her.
Yeah.
Or maybe, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So they also said that she was also known to be very careful about screening her customers and always carried pepper spray for protection. She always kept in touch with her family, her friends, on a regular basis and sent money to her mother and her sisters. So she's, you know, it just makes me so sad, like, that they're not getting, you know, the attention that they deserve, and they're out here doing this and sending money home to their mom, sending money to their sisters, trying to support their kids, trying to keep a roof over their head, and doing all of this.
And trying to get ahead, get a career.
And yeah, like still going to school and working, you know. So Melissa advertised on a website called Adult Friend Finder, as well as other sites. She used the alias Chloe and Very Sexy Chloe. She had tattoos of the words blaze and focus on her back, and then she had letters on her chest. She was also known to meet clients at bars, restaurants, and hotels on the west side of Manhattan. So I'm sure she would probably go to upscale places where she knew the men had money because, you know, obviously you want to get paid for doing this. You're not just going to. So,
and ones that can afford $200.
Yeah, of course. So on July 12th, 2009, the night that she was last seen, Melissa told a friend that she was going to see a man and would be back in the morning. The friend was aware that she was a sex worker, but Melissa offered no other details. Her cell phone records show that she traveled from the Bronx to Manhattan, mostly via taxi. Melissa's mother had not heard from her or been able to contact her for a few days, so she reported her missing to the New York Police Department on July 18th. The investigation showed cell phone activity in Manhattan, Freeport, Massapequa, and Lyndhurst. Motels in the near area and neighborhoods were investigated. After Melissa had been reported missing, her younger sister Amanda received a series of taunting phone calls from someone using Melissa's cell phone, which is...
That's strange.
Could you imagine your sister is missing and you get a phone call from her phone?
Yeah. You're thinking it's her.
Of course. The caller knew her sister Amanda's name and knew what she looked like. She said the man also admitted to killing and raping her sister. These calls were made from an area near the Port Authority bus terminal on 8th Avenue and also came from near Penn Station.
Who tortures the family like that? That's just sick.
Just a sick person.
Yeah.
These areas were thoroughly canvassed immediately following the phone calls. However, due to the large amount of pedestrian and vehicle traffic, no leads were developed. Could you, New York's we all know, even if you've never been there, you know what it looks like. Yeah. It's just packed with people. So could you imagine trying to find somebody on a phone or trying to track someone down there? It ain't happening.
You can't do it. It took us 3 hours just to get to the airport one time from there. And you're only going I don't even know, 10, 12 miles or something. It's just crazy.
It's
so packed. Traffic doesn't even move there.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. She rented a $700 basement apartment on Underhill Avenue in Tremont, a Bronx neighborhood. She told her parents that she was working in cosmetology, but her landlady knew that her tenant had been forced to take a temporary job stripping instead. Then Melissa began picking up extra work as an escort, began to advertise on Craigslist. So her landlady and her husband recall that she was a sweet girl and a very good tenant, and they say that she was never known to bring people back to her apartment. So it wasn't somebody that was, knew where she lived or anything like that. In July, her landlady was alarmed to hear Melissa's 8 cats meowing inside of her apartment and scratching at her apartment door. So, but she wasn't there,
Yeah.
Sure, they were hungry and whatever the case may be. But again, she was very petite. Like I said before, she was 4'11". She weighed 95 pounds. She was very, very petite. But she was known to be one that could take care of herself. They said that they described her as a Spitfire.
Yeah. And she was really, really smart because she knew not to bring people to where she lived.
Of course.
Yeah. She knew how to stay safe.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. You learn. Sometimes the hard way, but you learn. On July 9th, 2009, Melissa sent a late night text message to her sister, Amanda, who was 15 at the time. And she was the only family member that knew that she was an escort. Her family knew that she was, I guess, stripping, or they call it an exotic dancer. But they didn't know that they just thought that she was cutting hair and working as an exotic dancer. So that text was the last time that her family would hear from her. Early the next day, she made a $900 deposit into her bank account, and she seems to have tried to have called an ex-boyfriend who didn't answer. She also checked her voicemail from 2 motels in Massapequa, a Budget Inn, and a Best Western. Less than 24 hours later, the family already attempted to report her missing, but officers in the New York Police Department precinct said that they just brushed it off because they just considered it too early. A few days later, a family friend convinced the Erie County Sheriff's Department and pressured the New York Police Department to take this case seriously. And then the New York Police Department finally opened a missing persons file on her. They were soon in touch with Long Island and I think, all of the surrounding areas. On December 11th of 2010, Melissa's remains were found in the bushes along an isolated strip of waterfront property, and she was the first victim found of the Gilgo 4.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
She sounds like one of the first ones that probably went missing, too, because that was 2009?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were all...
No, mine was found in 2010.
They were all very close within a year of each other.
And it's funny, too, because I hear, May, Shannan Gilbert, Megan, June, and you have Melissa, July. So, and I have Amber, who's September.
Yeah.
So, is your other one in August? I don't know.
No, okay. July.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it kind of makes sense because, you look at the weather. Nobody's going to be out in the freezing cold winter.
You know what? That's true because they're in New York.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. It's just...
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's such a sad story. Like, just that it just makes me so sad to know that these girls are just like missing. I can't imagine being their family.
No.
I can't imagine going into a police department to tell them that your child's missing and they just blow you off. Like,
it's insane. Yeah, like I can't do
it's
anything.
too early.
Yeah. Or based on what your child's doing, it's not important.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know. I would go crazy. I would probably end up in jail because I would hurt somebody. I'd come across the desk at people.
Gina,
like,
if my kids went missing, Gina would be the one on it too.
Yeah, I would. Like, yeah. I wouldn't take no for an answer. Like, okay, cool. You're not going to, just like Shannan Gilbert's mom did.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not going to do it, then I'm going to. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to find them.
I'll find out.
And then they don't want you to do the research. They don't want you to do all this stuff because you're going to, impede on their investigation. That you're not doing.
That they're not doing. Yeah, exactly. So the next victim, Amber Overstreet Costello. And you'll know her as Amber Costello, but I do Overstreet because that was her maiden name. So she,
okay. So Costello is her married name.
Was a married name. She was divorced, but yeah. Amber Costello was born Amber Overstreet on February 10th, 1983 in Charlotte and raised in Wilmington, North Carolina. Amber attended Myrtle Grove Middle School and New Hanover High in Wilmington, North Carolina. She was described as 4'11", fireball. You said Spitfire for the other one. That's funny how they have the same personalities.
Everything. It's like they're the same person.
Who weighed only about 110 pounds.
There you go.
She was a very caring person who was strong and independent and would give you the shirt off her back. Chris Bird, a longtime friend of Amber's, said that she was fun once you got to know her. She was fun to be around, and she liked to do pranks. And we called it looking out for each other back then. We would go to Burger King, but if everybody didn't have money for Burger King, we would order a pizza, and Amber started it. So they would pitch in, like, they'd always go to the Burger King, but if somebody couldn't afford it, they'd be just like, okay, let's everybody pitch in, let's get some pizza so we all can be fed, you know? Amber stood up for herself, stood up for others, and was somebody you can depend on. She didn't care if you knocked on her door at 3 a.m, she'd be there. Amber had 4 nieces she doted on, and Christmas was a favorite time because she enjoyed giving presents. She'd give even though she didn't have a lot. Amber was natural at helping people through dark times and using her own experiences to comfort others. She had understanding and empathy. She used these characteristics to help others. Amber was twice married and divorced.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And she was so young.
Dang.
Yeah. She battled drug addiction and found faith later on in life. She was very involved with church and had a lot of faith. She just fell short of her own beliefs. Like the other Gigo Beach victims, Amber advertised online as a prostitute.
Yeah.
So that is very common with them.
Yeah.
It was online. About a year before Amber went missing, her sister Kimberly Overstreet brought Amber to New York City to a rehab program. So her sister was very involved in trying to help Amber out and to get her off drugs.
I think I've seen some interviews with that sister in particular.
Yeah, she tried really hard. Amber sobered up and lived in a sober living house and eventually moved into an apartment. However, the prostitution led to drug use again, and she was working to feed her habit. When Amber initially went missing, Kimberly thought that she was in a rehab program and would be out of communication with the family for a while, so she didn't worry.
Yeah.
So Kimberly went to North Carolina to take care of their father who had lung cancer. It was there that she received a phone call informing her that her sister was missing. So some friends had called to see, like, hey, your sister's missing. Have you heard or seen from her? On the last day friends saw Amber Lynn Costello alive, she walked out of her North Babylon home with these parting words. If my sister calls, tell her I love her.
Oh, God.
Yeah. It's almost, I don't know.
She knew.
Yeah. That was on September 2nd, 2010. The sisters never saw each other again. When her soul left this earth, mine shattered, Kimberly Overstreet said of her younger sister.
Oh, my God.
So it sounds like they were really close. And she was really trying to help her.
Was it her older sister, it sounds like, maybe?
It sounds like an older sister. You know what? I'm not too sure.
Trying to take care of her.
Witnesses told investigators that the client she met that day she went missing had been at her home previously. They described the man as a large white male, approximately 6'4" to 6'6" in height, with big oval-style glasses. A witness also said the man resembled an ogre. So I'm just here. We're going to insert a video that I'm going to insert that video clip that Gina sent to me today of this witness talking about that altercation he had with that man. And the description he gave to the man is everything in line with Rex Heuermann, the architect who recently has been charged with these girls' murders.
My name is David Schaller. I was a very good friend of Amber Costello. I was out. She calls me and was like, the guy, didn't want to take no for an answer and started grab-assing on her, and was basically, trying to pull her down to, to rape her. So came flying back to the house, busted through the door, and there's a giant in my living room, basically. It was like Frankenstein. I just was emotionless, just, blank. So I was like, what are you doing here? I was like, you gotta go. And he's like, he just shook his head. He's like, nope. And I was like, well, you're gonna go one way or another. So I pushed him. He pushed me back. I punched him in the face, went out the front door, knocked him down the stoop, kicked him in the chest a couple times. He got up, dropped a couple more punches on him, he hit me. And finally, I picked up a rake that I had there and I was gonna smash him in the face with the rake. He got in his car and bounced. And just literally no emotion, no nothing. As he was leaving, he was turning his head just like, like watching the whole time.
Schaller suspects a month later, Amber saw Heuermann again because she needed cash, badly. It was the last time she was seen alive.
The second she went missing, the first person that came to my head was that dude.
Schaller told police about the incident in chilling detail a few days after they found Amber's body. Then 2 more times right after that. He described the exact type of truck the man was driving, a dark green or black Chevy Avalanche. Yet cops never followed up.
All they had to do was run Avalanches in Massapequa and the case is over,
They had someone telling them that it was a Chevy Avalanche, that it was a 6'5" guy who looked like an auger. And if you went on Google Maps and went up and down the street, you saw the car parked in the street.
Right in front of the Heuermann's home, sometimes parked on the street, sometimes right in his driveway. This could easily have led to an arrest years ago, before other victims may have been murdered.
So Costello's, Amber's sister, Kim Overstreet, told CNN in 2011 that she took out an ad hoping to catch the killer. The ad implored other women who worked as escorts to call her. So she asked anybody who's ever encountered anybody who was threatening, just didn't feel right, any type of client that they felt uncomfortable around, to please get a hold of me. And she also advertised online, trying to catch this killer, because like again with the other families, you felt like the police wasn't.
Of course, you do what
enough.
you got to do. Absolutely.
What happens to Amber eats me every day, Kim said at this time. Finding out who did this consumes me. I stay up all night doing research and trying to retrace her last steps. Kimberly was the one who had to provide DNA to authorities that positively identified Amber as one of the victims of Gigo Beach. The witness who gave them the description back when Amber went missing with this one client that went to the house, and he said, hey, check into this guy who was at the house because I had an altercation. It could have led him there years ago, because this man reported it right away when Amber went missing. Like, hey, this is what the guy looks like. This is the altercation I had with them. This is what he drove. And it ultimately led them to him, but years later. Yeah. Like, what are we in? 2023?
Yeah,
and
13 years later.
Yeah. And this was back in 2010 when he gave them this information. So Rex Heuermann was arrested after investigators were able to link DNA evidence from a discarded pizza box to the DNA that the sister provided. And so right now, currently, he's being charged, and we'll see where we're going to go with that. But Amber was one of the key pieces because there was DNA that they could link because of that pizza box that was found near her. But
there's one more girl, and the reason that I left her for last was because she is not charged with her murder.
Okay.
So
can they not link him to her murder?
No.
Or?
So he was charged with Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello, but he was, however, not charged with the death of Maureen Brainard-Barnes. Police are saying that he is a prime suspect and he will hopefully be charged in her death. But he was not, because investigators didn't retrieve the cell tower records for the burner phone used to contact Maureen at the time, and the records no longer exist.
It's about sitting on it too long, where evidence is lost, destroyed, non-existent.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, a lot of times in cases like this, I think a lot of people will be like, oh, who cares? Like, you know, if he's charged with 3 murders, like, he's never going to see the light of day again. But
if it's that one that was my child,
I'd be pissed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't care. I don't care how many you're charged with.
I don't care if he's put to death.
No, like,
it wasn't my.
Yeah, you need to be held responsible for every single person. So, Maureen Brainard-Barnes was born on July 14th, 1982 in New London, Connecticut. She grew up in Groton, I don't know if I'm saying that right, and attended Fitch High School. Maureen became a mother at 17 and had 2 children before she disappeared. So here we, have another young mom with 2 kids. Maureen was 25 years old when she went missing and was living at 180 Prospect Street in Norwich, Connecticut. She's believed to have taken an Amtrak train from New London, Connecticut to Grand Central Terminal in Manhattan on July 6, 2007. While in Manhattan, she was staying at the Super 8 Motel located at 59th West 46th Street. At the time, Maureen was 4'11" and was working as a sex worker, advertising on Craigslist, Backpage, and other websites.
He definitely had a type.
Yep. Well, I think because he was so big, he could easily overpower them.
That's true.
You know, I mean, I don't know. Who knows? She was known to advertise under the work Juliana or Marie. Her routine was to travel to Manhattan for a few days to work as an escort and then return home to Connecticut. While in Manhattan, she was known to stay at the Super 8, the Red Roof Inn on West 32nd Street, the Carter Hotel on West 43rd Street, and the Manhattan Hotel on 8th Street. On occasion, she would travel with another female who worked out of a different room at the same location. So they would go to the same hotel, each get separate rooms, work, and then travel back home. They both may have used a male friend who they would refer to as their cousin to accompany them and offer a level of security and protection. So probably kind of the same thing. Well, I think with Shannan, she probably worked for an agency and they provided that driver for her. Maureen traveled with her female friend the weekend that she went missing. However, her friend returned home early and Maureen stayed behind. So between July 6th and July 9th, she had 16 interactions with a client who was using a prepaid burner phone. Maureen was last heard from on July 9th, 2007 at 11:43 p.m. when she called a friend in Connecticut. Although she was known to work out of motel rooms, on the night of July 9th, she told her friend that she would be going to meet someone outside the motel on an out call. So, meaning they were going to
meet up
go
somewhere else.
Maureen was reported missing by a friend to the Norwich Police Department on July 14, 2007. The New York Police Department assisted the Norwich Police Department in the missing persons report and in the investigation, eventually taking it over. At the time of her disappearance, she was said to have been under a huge amount of financial pressure, which just makes me so sad. She was facing eviction and an expensive court battle to keep custody of her son. Her body was found on December 13, 2010, on the north side of Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach during the search for Shannan Gilbert, who had gone missing, obviously, from Oak Beach. She was restrained with a belt with the initials WH, or if you flip it the other way over, we can put a picture of the belt. It would say HM on it. And Rex Heuermann's grandfather's first name is William.
Oh.
So.
William Huberman.
Yeah. She's believed to be the first victim in the Gilgo 4 because she's from 2007. They were all found
around the same
area,
because they were only a
couple 100 feet apart from each other, all in the same, and I think that that's another reason why they're not connecting Shannan Gilbert's death to this, why they still want to say that it was accidental, and honestly I don't know, that one is still I'm kind of up in the air about, but
and the way Shannan was acting, I don't know, sometimes, maybe it was accidental, but there was a reason for her to run out in the marsh that evening.
I don't know. There's just, to me, there's a lot of things that remind me a lot of Elisa Lam. Like I said, like Shannan Gilbert had taken her clothes off. Elisa Lam had no clothes on. I think there's just a lot of common things.
Yeah.
A lot of parallels there. And, mental illness will make you do, a lot of things. And I feel like, I just wanted to focus on these 4 girls because, their stories are not even similar. They're identical.
No, the way they describe what happened, what they were doing, it could be the same person. If we didn't put a name above every single one of them,
it's the same.
You could have heard the same thing with the description. What they, their height, their weight is very, very close to each other. But like you said, it probably was easy to hold them down. He probably looked for them for a reason. It probably wasn't a type. It was just easier
for him to manhandle them.
Yeah, I mean. So, but definitely we're going to follow up with this. We're going to keep the case in the forefront to try to follow up and see what's happening with it. Like we said, a lot of things are changing.
We're on all social media, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok.
Absolutely.
All of that. We have new merch coming pretty soon. Some new items coming. And so, we will be back next week.
Yeah.
So,
and please stay safe.
Yes.
A lot's happening out there.
Yeah, wherever you're at. Whatever you're encountering in this crazy ass world.
Yeah.
So anyway, we will thank you for listening. Thank you to our Patreons. And we will catch you guys next week.
Yes. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.